Welcome, I'm Joe Bailey and this is 805 Sports Talk. Alongside me is sports editor Elliot Stern and sports reporter Jacob Rayburn. Since our last show, we've had some Central Coast natives with big performances on even bigger stages. So that's what our show is going to be about this week, some big performances. We also got some local happenings going on, so thank you for tuning in. This is our 19th episode, so this is 805 Sports Talk.
The National Hot Rod Association was back in California over the weekend for the second stop of its Western Swing. After racing in Denver last weekend, the drag racers were up north for the 29th annual Sonoma Nationals at Sonoma Raceway after 2 days of qualifying on Friday and Saturday. The final eliminations were held Sunday, and two racers with local connections, Ron Capps and Alan Johnson, had cars on the top of the elimination ladders. Now, Capps is a San Luis Obispo native, born there, came down and lived in Santa Maria for a number of years, and then went back and went to high school at San Luis Obispo High. He posted a first-round win and then was back to pit row, where I caught up with him. After packing his parachutes for his Napa Auto Parts funny car, he took some time to speak with me about the weekend and his season.
It's been great. I mean, I saw you guys in Pomona. We started off the season with a win. Then went on the East Coast and had a great East Coast. Won a bunch of races, and then now we're in Sonoma. And it's, you know, you and I have talked. It's this is home for me, as everybody watching. I grew up in Santa Maria up until 7th grade, and then San Luis Obispo from there on. And so I've got a lot of friends and family that come up to this race. A lot of home cooked tri-tip, and a lot of people just hanging out. So it is a home track, which makes it difficult sometimes, but it's also fun to win here when you got your whole family here.
Now, it's not just your family. You have a huge following that everybody's rooting for you. You're in first place right now. Anything can happen, but still, you got to be feeling good about how your team's performing, how your cars are performing.
Yeah, I mean, I got a great team. As you see them working behind us, and the fans are lined up 10 deep out in the front. It's a good feeling. It really is. The neat thing was the Denver race last week, and I hopped on Alan Johnson's plane, an old friend who lives in Santa Maria that taught me a lot about racing, and it was just him and I on his airplane, and I was staying in Paso Robles with the family camping, so I was able to spend time with Alan. I get to do every year at the Blaine Johnson event or coming home, and it just put it back in perspective. You know, it's amazing to get paid and have a job like this and do it for a living, but leading the points, it's a good feeling right now, but we want to win a championship, and I want to see you in Pomona at the end of the year and have the points to lead then it's important.
Now, not just you and not just this one crew. You've got a phenomenal team with Don Schumacher Racing.
It is a conglomerate of talent. I tell you, he has put together an amazing. I've driven for him almost a decade now. Drove for Don the Snake Perdome for almost a decade. So two pretty good owners in the sport of drag racing. And it's neat because we're racing John Forrest and his teams, and it's nice to go up there and have the parts and the pieces to know that you can go up there and you have a horse to ride that can win every time out, and that for a driver is confidence.
Now, it used to be the Top Fuel was faster, but it looks like you guys in Funny Car are not only getting higher speeds than them, but when I first started following you, a low 4-second run could win you something. Now you got to be in the threes.
It's pretty amazing what's happened in just 1 year in the funny car division, for sure. And several races in the past here, just the last few races, funny cars, like you said, have actually been faster than dragsters. When you look at the two, you don't think it's possible, but it's happened in the past several times. These are unbelievable to drive. I drove Top Fuel dragsters for 2 years and then got in a funny car, and the funny car is the most unnerving, wild, unpredictable, evil handling thing you could ever drive. And I've gotten to drive a lot of cool stuff. Sprint cars, dirt cars at Santa Maria. This thing is unbelievable. So to have them as fast as they are right now, 330 miles an hour plus in one of these funny cars with a body on top of it is an e-ticket ride for sure.
Yeah, I've been dirt track racing with you in Santa Maria. You told me to stand in your favorite corner, and then you just splattered me with mud. That was fun.
Nothing better than a little mud in your beer, I'll tell you. And that's what I love dirt race. I love Santa Maria Speedway.
Eventually lose to the legendary John Force in the funny car finals. He made it all the way to the finals. John Force, a Loma Linda native, and second only to Dick Vitale, the man, when you put a microphone in his face, can really talk. Now, after speaking with Ron, the soundbite you just heard, we headed over to John Force's pits to catch up with the ageless one.
How's your season going first?
Well, it was a struggle, and you know, a young team and young crew chief John Schaefer, but just a great kid. But he got the potential. He's the championship crew chief. It's coming, matter of time, and puts up with an old man like me. But he's a Northern California boy, you know, and just doing a great job. But we get a lot of people. You know, Ron Capps, one of my best friends, great driver, in that Napa hot rod. You know, he's up here in this neck of the woods too. But we hired Alan Johnson of AJ Racing and to overlook this dragster as well as he does Capco. Of course, he made his pick of crew chiefs, Brian Hewson and Jason McCullough. They put a great bunch of kids together, and I'm really excited about it. But they're local, and hey, she's winning races in this Monster Energy car. I'm more excited about her than I am about me. I had a big win at Denver in the Chevy last week with Peak. But so my crew chief's coming around, but these guys here won the 4-wide with my daughter Brittany, and then of course they won the first race at Gainesville when they double up with the dragster and Robert Height in the Auto Club funny car.
Now your daughter.
All in one breath. They got me running today. I'm sorry, I'm wound up.
That's all right. Your daughter's having a breakthrough season. She's in the mix for the title. Nobody's running away from her.
Yeah, Courtney's second the points. My son-in-law took over the crew chief and with Ronnie Thompson, but he's been being trained for years, and it was time to give him that shot with Traxxas. And you know, Chevrolet, I've crashed the company car twice, the Chevrolet, and you know, the Camaro. But now I finally figured out. I read the manual. I'm okay now. But I just had something screwed up in the cockpit looking out, and it was me. And we changed it, put a sight on the car, and it's going down the racetrack. So, but we're really excited. Courtney, boy, just has the magic. Robert Height does too, and just goes down the racetrack every run, runs big numbers. Just ran Loyalty of the session 90. Robert ran 91, but almost got me at Denver. So, no, we're excited about her shot at the title.
And now here in the monster machine that's behind you, that car's running really well.
Well, you're talking about, I always say Austin Coyle, the winningest funny car crew chief in the history. But you look over here, Alan Johnson, he has more wins, you know what I mean, than anybody in Top Fuel. So you hire the best and you get the results. And he brought it, basically some of his hand-picked people that he wanted me to hire. And I'm going to let him run it. Does a great job. I'll leave him alone. And my daughter, she's really starting to move as a driver.
So you heard them both Ron Capps and John Force talked a little bit about Santa Maria's Alan Johnson. Now, Johnson has 15 NHRA season championships as a crew chief, team manager, and car owner, and that's second only to John Force's 16 titles. This year, Johnson has a new role. He's a consultant to John Force's Top Fuel team, with Force's daughter Brittany behind that wheel. And I caught up with Alan just before Sunday's championship round.
Yeah, I think the season's going it's going really well. Actually, you know, it's our first year here with Brittany, so you know, we had to completely change that program around, and she hadn't won a race this year. She's won 2. She had the world record for a while until our other teammate here, Steve, broke it Friday night. So I think the season's going well. You know, certainly we'd like to be in the lead right now, but you know, there's a lot of tough cars out here, and the fact that we're 3rd and 4th, and having Steve actually miss a race this year because of his health problems, being 3rd and 4th is probably pretty good.
You're the consultant to both of these teams. Both of these crews speak highly of you, as do a lot of other people on this tour. How much do you think your expertise is helping them? It seems to be both of them have made huge leaps forward this year.
Well, you know, that's why they got me in here, you know, to just oversee everything and make sure that you know, I try to find the things that'll help the car, try to find things that'll you know, stop some problems. Unfortunately, the tire smoke in this last run here against Aaron Brooks and Richie Crampton was unfortunate. You know, we were probably just a little bit too aggressive. We could have slowed it down a little bit more than we did and probably got that round win. But They just got me in here to oversee everything and make sure things are headed in the right direction.
Now, I was talking to Brandon a bit, and you're still looking to put a team back on the track, right?
Yes, we've been working since the beginning of 2015 to find a sponsor, and it's difficult. It's very competitive out here. So if you want to win, you got to have the proper budget, and the proper budget's becoming harder and harder to find. But I think with our new Fox television package and our exposure on television and the viewership and the ratings of our television program is going to help our marketing. So hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have something in place to put on a third team within our little team here.
Johnson is also the consultant to Steve Torrance's Capco team, Capco Construction Top Fuel Dragsters, a team that is self-funded by Steve and his father Billy Torrance. Now, Steve is a hard-working 33-year-old young man. He's also a cancer survivor, and the cancer treatments he had as a teenager led to a serious medical problem recently. It turns out that the cancer eventually caused a heart attack that he had just a couple of weeks ago, and yet he's already recovered and was back behind the wheels this weekend. He just missed one race in the time he was recuperating, but he made it pretty deep. He set another world record in qualifying, and he made it pretty deep during Sunday's eliminations.
Everything's good 100% now. I was actually running, not at tip-top health, and I didn't realize it. So everything's good. They went in and removed a clot and put a stent in, and I feel better than I have in a long time.
Now, you had a great start to the weekend. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way you wanted it, but that start, you set a new world record or national record, right?
Yeah, we did, and the car has been unbelievable all weekend, even the last 2 weekends, and we've had a little bit of misfortune on Sunday. Same thing happened here today. We went out and we had a really good race car. We just overestimated the track a very small amount. I was able to catch the car pretty quick going into smoke and pedal it. Still went high 390s, but just not enough for that Lucas Oil car.
Torrance lost to Richie Crampton in the semifinals. Then J.R. Todd topped Crampton in the final round. John Force beat Caps for the Funny Car Championship. Greg Anderson won in Pro Stock, and Ellie Tonglet won in Pro Motorcycles. Now the drag races are off to Seattle next weekend to complete their Western Spring. They'll be back in California in November at the Pomona season-ending Auto Club finals in Pomona. And we'll be back there with them. We'll keep you posted on how the season goes right now through November 13th. But now that was in Sonoma. I actually began the weekend a day earlier in Anaheim, where I saw the Red Sox unfortunately lose for the second straight year to the Angels on a walk-off hit in the bottom of the ninth inning. So that was a disappointing evening for my favorite Red Sox, but it was our chance to get the last look at Big Pappy, David Ortiz, and it was always fun to go down and see a game. And that's not the only big baseball news that we have to talk about on Sports Talk this week.
Thank you, Elliot. Any Central Coast baseball fan will know the name Doug Bernier. He hasn't quite broken through to the major leagues, but he's been grinding through AAA this entire season. He's 36 years old, St. Joseph High graduate, Santa Maria native, and he had a huge week last week. And for his efforts, he was named the PCL, the Pacific Coast League Player of the Week on Monday. On July 27th, last Wednesday, Doug Bernier had quite possibly the best game of his pro baseball career. He went 4 for 4 and hit for the cycle, hitting a home run in his final at-bat in the ninth inning. And in that process, he also extended his hitting streak to 15 games. That's his career high. And the day after, he actually moved that up to 16 games, and that streak was unfortunately snapped last week. But he's just been having a stellar season for Round Rock in Texas. It's the AAA club of the Rangers. That they're battling for a pennant race, the Rangers are, so we don't know if he'll get called up in September, but hopefully he will. I caught up with Doug in 2013 when he was with the Twins organization. He got called up then, and they played the Angels in Anaheim in 2013. I got a chance to catch up with him. He's just a great guy. He's one of those guys that anyone can root for. He's listed at 6'1" and about 175 pounds, but I think he's about my size, so he's definitely not, one of your prototypical big leaguers, but he's a great infielder. His defense is top notch, so you would think he would have a spot somewhere on a major league roster. So we'll have to wait and see probably till September when they expand the rosters, see if he'll have a chance to play in the big leagues this year. But it's just great to see a guy like him, a lifelong, major league guy fighting to get into the major leagues, and he just has a great week. He got some big recognition with PCL honors this week. It's a great league, a lot of AAA teams there. So for him to get that honor PCL Player of the Week is huge, and we'll definitely keep an eye on him as he tries to get some major league experience later on this season. Now, while Bernier's performance this last week is big news for St. Joseph High School, Jacob, you got some big news for Cabrillo this week.
Yeah, Cabrillo High School's got an event this Friday. They've got their third Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the school's Hall of Fame, so it's going to be an interesting collection of individuals who are going to be there. And it starts at 6 p.m. with a barbecue dinner at the school's cafeteria. So I'll be there to cover it, and it's open to guests, and it's so I'll be interested to hear a lot of stories. I love the stories that come out at events like that. You have people who've been involved with the school for a very long time, and I'm sure there will be many people at that event who are baseball fans and who watched Danny Duffy pitch the game of his life for the Kansas City Royals, and I know that's something that caught a lot of attention around here, and certainly caught the attention of the guys at this table. He was on the verge of one of the greatest no-hitters, or if he hadn't walked someone, perfect games ever. I mean, talk about the progression of a guy who kind of struggled at the end of last season, and now look at him.
Yeah, I think the big thing, I guess, with Danny is his health. When he's been healthy, he's probably, one of the best. He has the best stuff that you're going to find. He definitely has adequate stuff to be a frontline starter at the major league level. So he's been healthy pretty much this entire season. He hasn't thrown too many innings with starting in the bullpen this season. So it's kind of built up to this, and then he kind of just exploded on Monday night with 16 strikeouts, like you said, just dominating Tampa Bay. Pretty much the Tampa Bay crowd was pretty much cheering him on toward the end of that game. Almost gave him a standing ovation.
I would,
and they were in Tampa Bay, so that just goes to show how dominant that performance was. I think it was like 100 game score, which is like a perfect game score. He gave up a double to Desmond Jennings in the 8th, and that broke up the no-hitter. In years prior, with something going on like that, Danny might have lost focus or kind of dwelled on that hit, but he closed out the inning with 2 straight strikeouts. So that shows you where he's at mentally and physically to close out that 8th inning. He didn't pitch in the 9th, but he still had just an amazing performance. His changeup was just awesome. Fastball was working, and I think he had 35 swings and misses, which is just a huge number. I think that's the highest in the last 15 years. Like Kershaw had 35 swings and misses.
Yeah, I was just going to say that put him in elite status. That was Kershaw's status. And on that night, there wasn't much difference between the Cabrillo grad and Clayton Kershaw in terms of what you can accomplish on the mound as a lefty in the major leagues. I mean, I can't get over the fact of how brilliant an outing that was. And even though he just barely missed history, it's still one of the greatest pitching performances of the year and beyond this year.
The club record broke the record of a slightly well-known pitcher named Zach Greinke. I mean, he was the one who had the record, so now you're up in that atmosphere. I think Duffy's put the 2 parts of his game together consistently. He's had the physical skills, and he had to get his head in the game sometimes. Like Joe talked about, he's had a habit of losing focus. He had Tommy John surgery. He was a hard-throwing 93, 94 mile an hour fastball, and he's always had a lot of strikeouts. Then he hurt his arm, had that Tommy John surgery. When he finally made it back to the majors, they had him on a strict pinch count, and I thought that he had a little bit of apprehension there. He was kind of maybe afraid to let it all out, and he was thinking about his arm a bit when he should have been thinking about the game. And I think that might have been part of his focus problem. At least that's just the way it appeared to me. But he looks like he's got it together now. Since injuries have forced him from a middle reliever role back to a starter role,
he has just jumped on the opportunity. You know, they talk about the next man up. You got to be able to, you know, in all the sports, that when they call on you, you got to be able to answer that call. And this time around, he's done it, and I think he's not going back to that bullpen.
Oh, no way. Especially not after his last performance.
No.
And just the thing about, if you meet Danny, the thing that like stands out about him is he doesn't seem like a guy who can throw a 98 mile per hour fastball. He just seems like a normal guy. You know, he's 6'3", but he's not like, you know, buff or, you know, like super jacked. You know, you just see him, he looks like a normal guy, and you talk to him, he's just like a normal guy. But here he is, you know, just with this powerful arm. It's amazing. And he's still, you know, talking to him last offseason, he's still like down to earth. You know, he comes to Lompoc all the time. So to see him find some success this year is really good to see. You know, I mean, they won the World Series last year, but for him to have some individual success is great. And I think the Royals are like 12-3 when he starts, so they definitely need him with the shape that rotation's been in this year. So it's just good to see all that he's been doing for the Royals.
Yeah, geez, Johnny Cueto who? I mean, come on.
Well, and you look at, he's, what, 27 years old now? It doesn't seem like he can be 27. It seems like the other day we were following him at Cabrillo High School, but he's 27 years old now. And this is a point where a lot of pitchers come into their prime. You figure 27 to 33, he could be in for a huge, you know, 5-6 year run, and we're watching the beginning of it right now. He could be the guy that moves up to the #1 spot in their rotation, and I think that's what they thought when he was a teenager. Now he's back from Tommy John surgery. He's got all the components put together, and I think in his mind now he can feel that I belong here, I deserve this, and I'm going to go out there and win us some games.
Yeah, and if I'm the Royals, I want to see about locking him up, because I know that contract's going to be up, I think, after next season. So there's definitely going to be some extension talks at some point, I would assume. You know, he's been a Royal since he was drafted in 2007 in the 3rd round. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out. I'm sure he wants to stay there with you know, those guys that he's grown up with. You know, that team's built on players they drafted. So it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses, and it's really good that he's had this year, you know, especially when he needs it and the team needed it.
Yeah. If he keeps pitching like that, contract negotiation should be a good experience. So, you know, here's hoping he stays healthy, and that's the main thing. Just gotta hope for good health, and because if he has his health, he'll be fun to watch, and that's why I'll tune in, and that's why a lot of people in the Lompoc Valley will tune in, because he's fun to watch when he's healthy.
And Jacob, with you talking about health of Danny Duffy, a lot of athletes in Rio are going to be considering their health this week. The Olympics start with the opening ceremonies Friday. Events actually started Wednesday, and for local concerns, we have a boxer, Carlos Valderas. Many people are aware of him. We talked about him on this show. He's in the 60K light division boxing at the Olympics, and I think his first bout is Saturday morning, so a lot of people around the Central Coast are going to be watching that. Then on Tuesday, Josh Pernot will be in his 200-meter breaststroke event, and then the final is Wednesday. I know the Santa Maria Swim Club is really excited to see how Josh does in Rio. I know they're planning some big events, some watching parties like they did at the Olympic trials, so I know a lot of us are going to be, you know, watching our Central Coast natives, our Central Coast guys there at the Olympics, so it's definitely an exciting time with the Olympics finally here.
Yeah, and when there's always a lot of things, people tend to have their favorites of the events they want to watch and everything. You know, Michael Phelps is going to be the flag bearer for the U.S. It's going to be interesting to watch him try to add on to his already historic medal count. The U.S. women's soccer team played against New Zealand on Wednesday. I will try to watch all the soccer that I can, while acknowledging that makes me an outcast, you know, amongst many sports fans in our office, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And also, a big thing for me is volleyball. Men and women's volleyball. I will watch
Indoor or beach?
Indoor and beach. Indoor, I tend to actually like more. Just the incredible physicality and physical ability of those indoor volleyball players is just, it's so much fun to watch. I would never want to try it. I would never want to try to face down a 75-mile-an-hour spike from a 6'8" outside hitter. But
I've always felt that indoor volleyball hasn't got like is fair
No.
shake at the Olympics. It's like those guys are insane. They're like 6'8" guys that swing like unbelievably hard. It's fun to watch. I don't know why it's not a more popular Olympic sport.
I love it, and you got 7-foot tall middle blockers. It's an incredibly competitive sport at the Olympics because it's actually gotten really popular in a lot of countries. But I don't know. I'm curious if you guys have anything circled on the calendars.
Well, the Olympics are famous for. We watch some sports once every 4 years. Gymnastics, you don't really watch them, but people are glued to the gymnastics competition when it's an Olympic competition. Swimming is another one like that. Cammie Craig from St. Inez is going for his second gold in women's water polo. Women's water polo. Now, we all like the water polo. We watch some championship teams, boys and girls on the high school level, so we get to see more water polo than most people. But at the Olympics, water polo gets a lot more. Then there's weird things that you never think about. Handball.
Yeah.
Handball. I mean, you got to watch a little of it. You go, what the heck is handball? And there's a sport here in this country called handball, but it's much more like racquetball, where you one competitor and you bang it off the wall, just like racquetball, only without a racket. Well, that's not at all what handball is. Team handball. Rugby sevens are going to be played.
Oh yeah.
Table tennis is going to be played. Archery. There's all kinds of things. And
don't forget badminton.
Badminton. Oh, they're insane when they play
badminton. They are insane.
So those only get exposure like once every 4 years. But I find the whole thing entertaining. And now, because of cable and the internet, NBC has a gazillion hours on NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, USA, all the different networks of NBC, and you can stream it live on your tablets, on your notebooks, on whatever kind of computing devices, your phone. So there'll be nonstop action nearly 24 hours a day, either live events from Rio or just to fill the dead time, they'll tape delay some things. So now's your chance to get those oddball events like team handball that you've never heard of. You watch it for a couple of weeks, there's a tournament, there's drama, and then it's over, and you'll forget about it for 3 years and 11 months.
Yeah, now with you mentioning NBC and all that broadcast stuff, I don't know if NBC is going to have its act together with the broadcast. Before it's like you want to see stuff live, but you can't get it. And, you have to have the right package. I know, talking to Mike Ashmore, Santa Maria Swim Club, they're talking with DirecTV to make sure that they can get the broadcast live when Josh Pernot is swimming, because they want to have a big thing at the Abel Maldonado Center. So they kind of got to make sure that Josh is going to be swimming live. I know when he was in the trials, they had to, hook up the internet and put it and watch it through a computer because it wasn't on live broadcast on the West Coast. So hopefully NBC has all that stuff figured out, and it's a good broadcast, and hopefully, they cover it as they should. If something happens in Rio, is NBC going to be talking about that? It's going to be interesting to watch how NBC handles this broadcast.
Well, maybe you just described the strategy of how everything's going to look perfect at Rio, is that we're not going to get to see it.
Yes.
Well, NBC has already said that they're going to concentrate their primetime broadcasts on making it a TV show, and it's going to feature the U.S. men's basketball, U.S. women's basketball, swimming, but not necessarily an event Josh Pernot is in, just events that Michael Phelps, Missy Franklin, the stars are in, although they'll probably throw a few others in. So soccer, they're going to go with the glamour events, gymnastics, of course, especially the women's gymnastics. Those are going to get a lot of primetime tape delay play. But like you say, finding them on when they're going to be live. Now, we got a schedule that is about 1,000 yards long. Now, we've cut it down so that in our TV guide, on deck, on usually page 2 of our sports section, sometimes we have to move it for space reasons, but usually it's on page 2. We'll do it in more broad strokes, so it'll tell you what's on at 8 a.m. on NBC or 8 a.m. on CNBC, and it'll say water polo, golf, tennis. The Williams sisters are both #1. Serena #1 in women's singles, and Venus and Serena are the #1 doubles team. So they'll get some play. So those will list the blocks that they're going to have and you can check with those every day in your Santa Maria Times. So we'll keep you informed on that, but still, finding them live could be a bit of a problem.
We talk about NBC and promoting its Olympic broadcast. We'll take some time to promote some of the stuff that we're doing. It's finally August, so most people around the Central Coast know what that means. Football season is here. It's almost fall, and we're about 3 weeks away from the start of the football season. And so you know what that means for us. We have a lot of previews, and our special section is coming out soon as well. And the last couple of years, what we've done with our special section is hold a media day. So this weekend, that's what we got planned. Having a lot of teams, about a dozen teams from around the Central Coast coming in, you know, partaking in our media day. We do a lot of interviews, photos, you know, just kind of hanging out, getting to know the teams. It's a lot of fun. So that's this weekend, and our special preview will be out just before the season starts. And we will also be doing a special edition of 805 Sports Talk this weekend, which will be up early next week. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And we're also doing something special for this football season, the pro football season. Pro football picks, where we'll have some celebrities picking games during the season, and we'll also be picking games throughout the year. So it'll be fun to keep an eye on that, see how we do picking pro football games. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
And you can also pick. We're going to have a section for anybody that wants to get involved. I have a season-long contest right on our website, SantaMariaTimes.com and LompocRecord.com. So it's not just us, it's not just celebrities. Everybody that wants to pick the pros can get involved in the contest this year. We used to do that. We're bringing it back because we know how popular it is. So as we gear up for the high school football season, make sure you catch our high school football media day online, and catch up with our professional football season also online. And of course, we keep you in touch with all of that in our daily publications and our weeklies. All the Lee Central Coast publications. So, but they'll be there, and we'll be here. And of course, we're going to also be doing a high school football game of the week.
Definitely. Every week, every Friday night.
So there's a lot coming up. The season is about to get very busy, and we want you to be a part of it because we love bringing it all to you. So check our website all the time, because we'll keep you up to date on what's going on, and of course in print, online, on 805 Sports Talk. It's all going to be there. We do it for you. So tune in, join us, and thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time on 805 Sports Talk.